One.
Huh? I'll call this meeting to order at 6:30. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all. Welcome. Good evening, everyone. I'm used to nobody being here, so it feels good to have this many fans.
So just your attention for a moment, please. We do have guests that are hearing impaired. When you speak, if you have the opportunity, I need you to be clear and concise and state your name, where you're from, just your street address is fine, so that our guests can have it translated for them as the meeting goes along. I also want you to know that the 55+ hearing does begin tonight. This is not a hash and trash tonight. It is a brief overview. It goes to our peer engineers. They hash it, trash it. We come back, you are still invited, and then it goes out for comment. So just so you're aware. And Charlie?
Excellent. Okay, so let's just review the minutes.
Can I just say, when you do come up to speak, if you can come to the podium and speak into the microphone, that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Not everyone is as loud as I am.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Dennis, you're in a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the minutes are accepted. Moving right along, so is there a representative for 359 Otter River Road? Hello?
Mr. Wilder? Yes. You can go right to the podium up there in case they have any questions for you.
Step right on up.
Okay.
It'll be easy, no worries. Yeah, take a quick look at that.
No.
Mr. Zoc is here also if you have questions for him.
Yeah, so. So it looks like you're just creating a new lot from existing?
Yes.
Okay. So what was the original acreage?
Well, my understanding to begin with was it was 10.3 something,
Okay.
but then after the surveyors came and did the new survey, it came up. Where is he?
I'm right here.
I don't remember offhand.
Okay,
Came out to 11 point something.
We do list the remaining area
Yeah.
on there. I think it ended up being like 11 and a half total,
Yeah.
maybe.
yeah, so lot A is gonna be 4.86. And then,
Mine would be 7 point.
right, okay, frontage in 7.194 acres, okay. And it looks like 340 feet of frontage on the new lot. Yes.
Yep.
Any questions from the board? I'll go through the checklist. 4 copies of plan. Have those. Identification of plan by name of owner. Statement of approval under subdivision control lot not required. Yes. Zoning classification and location of any zoning district. Sorry, 2, correct?
Yeah, where's the zoning? No. Here we go. Let's go agricultural one.
You guys?
Right over there. where it's 10.
Okay, perfect. Yep, that's on. In the case of creation of new lot, the remaining land area in frontage of the land in ownership of the applicant.
Notice of any decision of zoning board of appeals. Not applicable. Name of butters. Distance to nearest permanent monument. I don't think there's some listed on there. Location of all existing buildings. Location of any easement or way. 4 copies of Form A, 4 copies of A&R, description of the lots. Pay for 300, yeah. Okay, all lots about a qualified way. All lots have adequate frontage,
Yes.
vital access exists to each lot,
Oh, yeah.
and all lots have adequate acreage, which they do, okay? And looks good. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the plans as submitted.
Motion to approve. All second.
Excellent. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. You're all set. I told you it wouldn't be that bad. We're just gonna take a couple minutes and sign these.
Oh,
26. Yeah, that's why we don't trust you.
Oh, you were, okay.
Gonna cost you extra, but yeah.
Good job.
It's down to you. You want to keep that pen? I won't do it. Most of what we do is really boring.
Thanks.
Yeah, my line. Yeah.
Town clerk. And
Thank you for putting me first.
Everything all. Thank you. You deserve to go first, right? Why not?
Yep, I'm just gonna wait for one copy for Mrs. Wilder. That's what needs to be filed.
We got one.
I'd be.
Yeah.
That's signed right here.
Was.
We expected you to. Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll be next.
Where would us, where should I put left on?
Yeah, where we put it. Right up here. On the table if you want.
Yeah.
You can put it right here, facing everybody that way, we block me.
Right.
Not a problem.
Because then the camera will pick it up, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Still short one.
Yeah. Good on one side.
No, we need one more. Right, do you mind? So you guys need to.
Yeah. I need to get.
That's complete. Yeah, we just need one more. Yeah, and then. It's a brain one. That was the. We don't have the public hearing open yet. Lori, we don't have the public hearing open yet for.
Yes, we're opening the public hearing.
We have to open it though. I'm just saying we don't.
Yes.
have- Okay.
And I will be happy to read the notice for you if you want.
Why don't we do that while we're just doing last signatures? This time I would entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Motion on the floor, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing has been opened.
The planning board, acting under the town of Templeton bylaw, section 300-27, senior housing planned community manufactured home parks. You are hereby notified of a public hearing being held on September 26, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. in the conference room at Town Hall. To consider a site plan application submitted by McCarty Engineering Incorporated for Earth Land Development LLC for a proposed senior housing planned community manufactured home park on Baker Lane and Cottage Lane.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Brian Marchetti from McCarty Engineering. I'm a registered civil engineer in the state of Massachusetts. Here tonight on behalf of Earth Land Development LLC for the manufactured home park. I do have some. Hopefully everybody will be able to see it. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the parcel. It's 29 acres. It's comprised of 5 separate parcels right now. And as part of this application process, we are proposing to combine the parcels into 2 individual parcels. We had previously met with the planning board, I believe, preliminarily back in the spring. Just to discuss the project. So I could get a better understanding of what was allowed in town, what the regulations, zoning bylaws allow, and kind of what my constraints were with respect to density and how this park needed to be laid out. We also met on site with conservation. We had our wetland consultant, Three Oaks Environmental, out on the property to review our proposed limit of work. And it was confirmed with both the wetland consultant and with the conservation agent that we are not impacting or within the 100-foot buffer zone with any of our limited disturbance. So permitting for this project would solely be in the hands of the planning board for a special permit. So as I said, we're proposing to combine these 5 parcels into 2. The intent is to create as you see here, 1 master parcel that's about 28 acres, which contains the full limit of the manufactured home park. And then a separate 1 acre zoning compliant parcel here on Cottage Lane at the entrance to the manufactured home park. We're filing under section 327, the senior housing plan community manufactured home park. As Lori had said in the beginning, which is allowed with the special permit, the planning board. We're also filing under section 326, which is the open space residential development. The intent here is just to create this separate 1 acre parcel for a single family home lot. The desire here is to have a house built on this parcel for the caretaker of this manufactured home park. And what that allows us to do is have some zoning relief with the frontage on Cottage, zoning compliant in this zone, which is an RA1. There's 150 feet of frontage. The provisions of 300-26 allows in RA1 the reduction in frontage up to 75 feet. And we're proposing here 95 feet where we're connecting to Cottage. In addition to that OSRD in the manufactured home park, we're also filing a stormwater permit as required in town because we're disturbing greater than 1 acre. So the development, as you see here, consists of 49 individual units. We've designed this driveway, which goes through the park according to the standard subdivision guidelines and dimensions. So the roadway be 26 feet wide, as well as the requirements of the manufactured home park, which requires a minimum of 20 feet of separation of the manufactured homes to the edge of road. We've designed all these to have a 25-foot driveway, so it'll be a little bit further than the 20-foot minimum that's allowed by zoning. Wanted to give the residents here ample space in their driveway. Most cars today and trucks are longer than 20 feet, so make it more comfortable. The zoning minimum for spacing for these units is a 10-foot. We've doubled that and provided 20 feet to give the spaces a little bit better separation, more flow, more green space. And that's how we've come up with now this layout that you see here with 49 units. We had originally come in with 57 units. And just decided it was a little bit too cramped and dense for the land we were fitting in. So we have 2 roadways here proposed. So the main drive between Cottage and Baker is the real lane. This roadway is approximately 1,070 feet in length. As I said, we're maintaining the subdivision standards for the roadway width and sidewalk. So there should be ample room for 2-way traffic, for fire safety, public safety apparatuses, to be able to navigate through the subdivision, through the roadways here. And then the cul-de-sac roadway is about 820 feet long. And again, it's the same thing as 26 feet wide. Sidewalks on one side of the roadway. And there's ample space for fire apparatuses to be able to navigate through and turn through the cul-de-sac. I have individual plans that go into more detail, but I don't know if you want to go into that much detail. I can explain them for stormwater and utilities.
I don't know if we're gonna go that deep in this tonight. I think we're just doing like the initial, like,
I'll keep this plan up then, so
Sure.
it's more visual.
Sure.
But just explain what we did for stormwater and utilities here. So the overall development has been designed to meet the Massachusetts DEP stormwater management standards. It's a conventional drainage type of system. We have catch basins spaced at 300-foot minimum or maximum rather throughout the subdivision roadways. Those catch basins are routed through a pipe network on the ground and then diverted to the two areas in blue here that you see here are our infiltration basins. They're just shown in blue here for contrast. They're not meant to be standing water basins. These are, the ponds were situated. We did test pits out there. We confirmed the soils. They're a sea soil type out there. The Rawls rate, which is the percolation rate in these basins, meet the stormwater standards, and they're all designed to empty, within 72 hours of a rain event. So there'll be at least the minimum in the two areas that we did 3 areas of test pits in here, the back here, and then the location of this basin. In groundwater in all locations was found to be between 3 feet and 6 feet below grade. And it's a good gravelly soil, particularly on the backside here. We also designed the stormwater system to be in compliance with the EPA's new MS4 regulations, which I don't believe are included yet in your stormwater regulations in town. However, pretty much most of the surrounding towns have started to incorporate them. So what EPA is doing now for all MS4s, so anywhere catch basins, the stormwater is connected to public infrastructure. They're requiring instead of 80% total suspended solids per DEP, you have to treat it to 90%. And also you have to provide 60% phosphorus removal. That's being provided in 2 ways. One, you have to meet the 1-inch water quality volume for the entire development. So all the proposed impervious area, rooftops, sidewalks, pavement areas, you have to treat the 1-inch volume in all of your stormwater BMPs. So what we have here is the system coming downhill from the road to this basin. This whole roadway goes to here. It's all sized to exceed that 1 inch. This whole area down to about here is sized to go back to this basin here in the east. And then the middle portion here, because of depth to groundwater, and we're meeting existing grades and existing drainage infrastructure here out in Baker and Stevens. We didn't have the topography relief in our development to put a surface basin, and we couldn't do an underground basin because of high groundwater. So we're proposing water quality units that were sized to treat the 1-inch water quality flow rate. Again, it's all standard practice in construction industry. So those calculations have all been provided. They're all in the report. So the peer reviewer who reviews this project will have all that information. Utility wise, we've been in touch with the water department, sewer department, and the director of DPW. We've been told that there's ample capacity in both water and sewer. We're meeting with Jeff Aldridge and the sewer commissioners next week to go over the details. So we'll have more information at the next meeting from that meeting. But we also met with Public Works. Public Works toured both locations with the applicant. There were concerns about the condition of the roadway on Baker and Stevens. So it was discussed that the applicant would improve basically the connection point here on Baker up to Stevens. Potholes, the pavement's ripped up. There's no pavement in some areas. So that would be improved as part of this project. And he had a concern as well on Baker. It's variable width. So up to a certain point, it's at least 20 feet, but then beyond, I believe the culvert around this area here, it narrows down to about 18 feet. So he wanted, as part of this project, the applicant to widen that roadway to 20 feet and improve it. So the applicants discussed this with Public Works. We're in agreement. We've added those notes to the plan. This is the first meeting. I'm sure we'll have more discussions moving forward with all the town officials to get more detail. The exact scope wasn't ironed out in the field, but as I said, it was discussed with them. The applicant's on board with it, and we understand that there are going to have to be improvements to both or all of Stevens, Baker, and Cottage Lane in order to facilitate this project and improve. So that's the general overview of the whole project. If you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to try to ask for you. Or answer them.
Yeah, one quick second, we're gonna hit the board first and then, and actually, Laura, I just want to touch base with you. How much are we, what's our plan?
I would keep it brief because it has to go to peer review until our engineers look at the plans and provide you with feedback.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to answer a lot of the questions.
Exactly. So, I do
I
think just because,
believe Kirk is also on.
Okay.
If he has input.
right, I would say, I mean, it's up to the board, but I was gonna give the audience a few, well, I was gonna let us have a few minutes to discussion. And then give the audience a few minutes, if they, just because they all are all
Yes.
here. So I want to give everyone a chance. Again, we're not gonna get too far into this because this is the very beginning process, so there's gonna be a lot more that goes on, but. Anybody on the board have any questions? No?
Looking at that design, it looks like an awful congested area. Open space.
It's a manufactured, so again, it is.
One more time, excuse me,
Oh, I'm just,
one person at a time, please. We have interpreters that are working very hard. Thank you.
yeah, so I'll just speak to that. It is something in our bylaws and it's a manufactured home park, and I believe you did say that it's, we have certain design standards in that bylaw that have to design to. So it's within, you know, and that's one of the things that we'll look through with peer review to make sure that they are within that, because everything has to be within a certain zone and a certain amount of open space, things like that as well. So we will make sure that all that is addressed.
So essentially, it's a first of its kind in town kind of thing.
No, it is not. Yeah. Yeah, there's one on Baldwin Road that has been permitted, I believe, under construction. I don't know how far into it, but is under construction. Yes.
I think that's 13 units.
The 13, okay. Yeah. Yes.
The drainage ponds, where will they empty into? Are they go-
They discharge to grade in natural drainage courses, so it's been designed so that. The existing conditions, so in proposed conditions, they mitigate the flow to less than the existing conditions.
But there are homes also in the vicinity where they would be draining, right?
Oh, there are homes surrounding on either side, but this all does flow to the middle here, and that's where we'll be discharging.
You know,
We're all down.
setting its topography like that is gonna cause, I think, drainage problems. I think Frank knows more about this than I do, but there's only appears to be one exit. The other one is onto an unaccepted parcel of road. Is that not right, Frank?
So Cottage and Baker are both town roads. If it's not accepted public way,
Right, it's,
the applicant has agreed with DPW to improve it and pave it to a public way.
then it would have to be accepted by town.
It doesn't have to be accepted by the town. There's mass general law that states it can be connected to a way, whether it's private or public, if the land has frontage on it.
And the sewage from that area runs into the Gardner system. Is that not right?
I don't know the details, but we'll be talking with the sewer commission on Monday.
Yeah, all of each them. All of each them.
Yeah, all of the, that's what I thought. So you have to be negotiating with them as well.
Any questions from the board? So again, I'll open up to the audience, but yes, sir.
Yeah, I just,
Name and address, please.
my name is Bill Vining, 12 Stevens Way.
Thank you.
He mentioned one piece of parcel there where the storm drainage would go through Baker Lane, the current, what's there now? Is that true? Like,
Yeah, so portions of it would connect.
so all of that storm drainage goes through my property. It's on my land. So if you add more to it now, the flooding in my basement is gonna get deeper. The flooding in all of Baker Lane on the right-hand side is gonna get worse. That's all gonna be changed. And you can't use that pipe. It's in my yard.
Well, where we're connecting, where we're proposing to connect is not on private property.
It goes through private property. There's a pipe there,
There's a,
and that pipe connects to two storm drains on Baker Lane, those two storm drains go through my backyard. And if you like, ring the doorbell tomorrow and I'll show you exactly where they are.
What's your address?
12 Stevens Way.
They're on my land too, right?
Yeah, you got a storm drain on your land and he's got one on his land. All four of those storm drains feed into my backyard.
So it might be something if you want to, go out there and take a look at that and.
And like I said, on Baker Lane, multiple houses on one side of Baker Lane have now, since they clear cut everything, there's a river running behind their houses.
Oh, yeah.
And many of these houses can't even use their basements because they're full of water now. So I think that should be addressed before anything.
And that's all part of, this is exactly what this is all about, is please, once, we can't do anything until somebody submits a plan.
Right.
And once that opens the door for us to be able to start looking at all this and go through everything.
So-
And again, we hire people, engineers to come in to assess all this, to go through the plans, to make sure everything is, if it can even be built and go from there. So.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure everybody that lives on Baker understands
Yeah.
my point of view, because I'm the first house that gets flooded. And then everybody else follows.
So when he builds the ark, you guys all know.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And also, I'd like to,
Yeah. just-
Name,
just-
address?
my name is Sean, at 25 Baker Lane.
Yep.
I'd like to address the infrastructure problems that we've been having the past year in town. The amount of times that the water has been shut down for water main breakage and just pipes bursting and all kinds in the last 3 years even is just unacceptable. I get it, the pipes are really old and we have all that problems. On paper, it might say the capacity might, work, but it's just, we have some serious problems that need dealing with before we add 49 new units on top of what we have going on now. And I just don't think it's gonna handle what we can afford, more units, it's just unacceptable.
Yes, sir.
Gary Roberts, Stevens Lane. Stevens Way. Can I address the elephant in the room? If you're putting 49 houses up there. And we got two of the narrowest streets probably in town. And one empties out into one of the most dangerous intersections. And you're gonna add a couple hundred cars up and down those roads on a daily basis. That's really unacceptable.
And that's definitely something we will be requiring a traffic study to make sure to address all that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ken Lazarus, 14 Baker Lane. Just to reiterate one thing, I'm on the right side. And since those trees have come down, I have gotten water all year. I usually would get a break 3-4 months, no water, dry basement. But it's been running all year long back there. I got a constant brook. So that's definitely in fact all those trees that came down. And I sit in my office in my house is right in my window. I saw those logs going up and down that road and already starting to wear on Baker Lane, by the way. You're going to start seeing the spiders cracked and all that is already there. I manage manufactured home parks twice in this state. So I know what it takes to do that. But I also know the impact that it has on neighborhoods too. So we're not just talking about, so one of my questions would be, do they plan to build this up all at once, 49 homes? Or is it going to be over the next 20 years? And I'm not exaggerating, to sell 49 homes and one at a time, bring them up Baker Lane or Cottage every time on a trailer, if they can even make the turn into Baker Lane coming off of the road. So this is another factor that has to be looked at while I'm looking up my window, seeing all this stuff going up and down my road, getting destroyed over there. So appreciate it. That's a question I would like to know.
Absolutely, and that's-
build up all at once or over the next.
And that's what this is all for, is to, is there a plan as to?
I don't know the answer about the phasing. I have to.
Sure.
That was the applicant.
Yep. Any other questions, comments from the audience?
I have one, a little concern.
Name, address?
My name is Greg McGuan, 37 Baker Lane.
Thank you.
I have bought the property that they're trying to develop. On the width of the roads, he says it's gonna be 26-foot paved road. But under the subdivision rules under 4230, says it have, no matter what kind of road it is, it has to have a 50-foot right of way.
Right. Yes, but this is all on one parcel. So if you were subdividing, then you'd have to have that 50-foot and then the other parcels, because this is all under one that. Correct in saying that,
It's thrown out.
well, because it's all one parcel, so it's effectively a large driveway.
What about where it comes out onto
It would have,
either Baker Lane, Stevens Way, or is that 50 foot?
do you know what's the,
It is, the minimum, I believe, 60 something feet out in Cottage. And, yeah, so it's,
I measured it, so.
yeah, the right of way. I believe it's 60 feet exactly from corner to corner out here.
From my corner to the corner
From this,
here,
from
it's
this,
42 feet.
from this corner here to this corner per the survey is 60. And then out here it's wider. This is even. It's the corner lot line, right? The line meets the right of way.
What about on the curve, right in here?
That's
Over
that's
to
not
the-
where it meets the right of way. The dimension is taken from the lot line. On the property line where it meets the town right of way. That's it.
if we can just address that and just double check and make sure that, get the, yes, sir.
Steve Berry, Drury Lane, 18. Is there any way we can turn that around so I can see what's going on?
Yes.
Because I have, you know.
Charlie, can I interrupt you?
nobody
Hello?
can see it.
Yep.
Charlie,
Let me put a camera on it.
all right, can I interrupt the meeting for a minute?
Yep, go for it, Kirk.
All right, hello, everybody. I'm Kirk Machete, the chairman. I'm going to advise you to, I know this is just an introduction. I'm going to advise the people in attendance to leave their concerns, preferably in writing with Lori or whoever might be at the meeting right now. I can't see, of course. And that way they can get their peer review engineer, because this is not I know it's the forum, but it's not the proper time for nitpicking the plans. So I would just encourage everybody to just keep their cool, put their concerns on paper. When Whitman and Bingham, who I recommend, do our peer review, when they do that, it'll go right to the chief engineer, and they will investigate any concerns and address that anybody has. So if they leave their name, phone number, and address, and their concerns, that way if the engineers want to physically get in contact with you, they will, and see your strong points as to what you're talking about. That's just my
No, I like
personal
that.
feeling. I think we. So
I just
just
wanted to give everyone a chance just to speak, just because they were here, so I want to give them an opportunity. But yeah, we'll have them, and then, so that way we can have a
by all
list.
means, just put their names, addresses, their active concern, put it in writing, and we have plenty of time. It's not going to happen tonight. It's not going to happen tomorrow night, next month. It's going to take months to do this.
Right.
And so, let's just all play nice, and everybody's concerns will get addressed. I can personally guarantee you that. But let's keep it civil, which you guys seem to be doing pretty good, even though I'm not there throwing a hammer at people. But just keep it low keyed, and everything's going to get heard, whether it's pro or cons. Everything will get heard. Everything will be taken, seriously. We don't dismiss anything without a further investigation looking into it. So that way there, I'm sorry, I forgot the guy's name. I know it's McCarty Engineering. Whoever's doing the presentation tonight, let's just, try to wrap it up on a decent note, and then let's move forward with the peer review. Okay. So that's my opinion, and I'm listening for the rest. So, okay. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you very much. And again, people are obviously welcome to send in emails as well. So like if you're thinking about something, send it to, I'm sure Lori would love to get, she ran away.
She probably went to get business.
Okay.
cards.
Yes, sir.
One suggestion.
Sure.
If anybody wants to be part of an email group, please give me your email address. I have a lot of people from Baker Lane on an email address. Instead of Laurie getting 100 different emails.
If you can double, right, if
If
there's
you
one
give me
concern.
your email address, I'm gonna send it out to everybody. Send your concerns to me. I will create one document for Laurie and everybody will have a copy of it. That makes sense.
And again, this is a very long process. This is something that will be addressed. There'll be several more meetings of this and things like that. So, yes, sir.
Just one quick thing, you said it's gonna take months and maybe years, whatever, for this whole thing. Can somebody address the water problem already caused by the clear cutting up there? Baker Lane is getting flooded out. Every house down the street is getting flooded out right now. We don't have time for them.
I'm not
to
sure if that's
go
something
through all that.
conservation.
Is there somebody that can look into?
There's no conservation up there. It was a forest cutting permit from the state.
Okay.
I informed the state forester.
Okay. So it sounds like that was a permit that went through the state. It does sound like they've been notified,
Yes,
so.
Well, that's just for cutting the trees. What about the water? Yeah, is the water the state's problem because a company decided to cut all the trees down? I would think that the water would be the owner's problem.
Water is not supposed to leave a property, so that is something, I don't know.
It's leaving by the leaving. It's flooding everybody.
It's running.
Conservation Commission said it's not.
I told them that before they cut it. Yeah.
Laura, quick question on that. With the water situation, where stormwater management, does that come into play because there's nothing up there as of yet?
It does come into play, and that's also something that you're like you.
Hey. One at a time. Yes, Lori.
Stormwater management is also peer reviewed, so they're gonna look at the plan that was written up. They'll come back with any questions that they have. They'll have a direct connection to Mr. Marchetti and McCarty Engineering to discuss things. All of it will be looked at, absolutely all of it.
Lori, but they're saying this is an existing situation because the
Right.
property had already been,
We have had more water in 1 year.
yeah.
Not that it's the only
Yeah.
problem. There are things that have to be looked at. But we have to let it go through peer review first. I can't answer.
Right. No, I just wanted to know if there was something else that we could, right. So it is definitely something, yes,
I've been
sir.
up there 23 years. There's never been that much water coming down that hill. Never. Our road, Stevens Way is flooded out. It's a river
Every time.
every time it rains. I mean, it's never been like that, ever.
Brings debris, the rocks and everything.
Yeah.
come with it. It just
That's what I
makes
said.
it
It's just will take months to, somebody, all these people are getting flooded out right now.
Right.
Somebody needs to address it right now.
Yeah, let me look into it. I'll see on the board is what we can look into and what we have access to and what we can do. So I will work with the board and see what we can work on for you. Okay. Yes, sir.
I was Jason Lopez, 35 Cottage Lane. Is there gonna be a follow-up to like in the minutes? Is it going to, like, is there gonna be somebody addressed to this? And is there gonna be a follow-up in a timely fashion?
Yeah, so this is something that goes, this process will take, like I said,
The water thing.
so I will work this week with Lori to see what we can do and go from there.
And then how do we receive a remedy or a resolution or whatever for that? Like,
Yeah, 'cause
am
I-
gonna email, is
Sure.
it gonna go onto the website? Like, how are we gonna get feedback from you guys? about
Yeah,
that?
so at this point, I don't know what we even can do. So it's something that I have to address and find out what we can do from here.
Right, so whenever you find out, how do we find out?
The next meeting.
Okay, October 10th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This meeting will be continued. This open,
Right, so this is a public hearing. So once we open a public hearing, we keep the public hearing open for as long as it takes to get all the information that we need. And while we will deal with the peer review engineers and everything that goes back and forth.
Now, as far as all the documents and who's actually doing the peer review, like, do we get that information or is that something you guys hold?
It will be in the office, but it's public information, so
Okay,
you would have
so
access
we
to
have
it.
to go seek that information out through the public office.
Yes. Yes.
All
Anyone
right,
else?
Charlie?
Yes, Kirk.
Charlie? Yeah, just so the members know is that we have the peer review, which I'm assuming is gonna be Whitman and Bingham. They seem to be the only ones that, large enough to handle this. It's gonna take them a while to even generate their first preliminary, discussion with us. So
Correct.
I'd encourage the board to go at least 30 to 45 days out as far as, because scheduling 2 weeks at a time isn't gonna do anybody any good, but waste their time showing up to the meeting just to tell them that we're not ready for them yet. So
Right.
I would go
Right.
at least 30 to 45 days, out, continue the meeting that far out to start. And it gives Whitman and Bingham peer review, most likely Wes, time to digest and start his comment period with the applicants.
Yeah, no, public hearing, we'll definitely push out at least that.
Right, I'm just saying, just don't do it 2 weeks from now because
Oh,
it's
no.
not gonna,
Right, we
it's
won't
not,
have
it's not,
public hearing.
nothing's gonna be ready. I don't wanna waste everybody's time, so just,
Correct.
do a comfort distance out. I'd say at least 6 weeks, at least 3 meetings or 6 weeks, however you
Exactly.
wanna look at it, okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Steve Drury, 18 Drury Lane. So each one of those houses, lots that are on there, what is the acreage on that?
So I'll let you speak to that.
So they're not, they don't each have their individual lot. These houses are 50, I think they're 56 feet by 26 feet. So they're all individual units that are on a concrete pad.
Could I ask them to rebuttal to? What is the zoning for that currently?
There's a bylaw for it,
There's a bylaw for
for the
what?
manufactured home park.
For a home park?
Mhm.
So. So is that gonna be in a connection to the question 3, I guess? The sewer situation, is that gonna be all tied together?
Yes.
What exactly does one of those houses look like?
The applicant did provide Lori today with the unit, so.
Yep. So that's stuff that we're gonna get into more detail. This is just like preliminary, where we're just kind of starting to look at everything. So you already got that for you right there. So there you go. So again, just so we are gonna be wrapping this up just for tonight's meeting. Any other thoughts, any other questions before?
Just last question, John County, 25 Baker. Now, the applicant that's proposing this build here is the same one that built the new houses off of 2A last year, the 6 new colonials at the same builder?
It is not.
It is not, okay.
I didn't know that, so I wasn't sure.
May I ask one more question?
One more.
Thank you. 18 to relate Templeton. Are these prefab or stick built?
Prefabricated.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Good. Okay. I'll. Look at Dennis.
Driveways able to accommodate 2 cars.
Yes. Each driveway is a minimum 20.
With a
feet wide.
20-foot roadway, you're not gonna be able to park on the street.
Right, yes.
Excellent, okay. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to continue the public hearing. Lori, do you have a date in mind?
Let's see, let me just look at the calendar real quick. So I would go out to. I would probably go to.
Doing the first one in November.
I'm thinking the 14th of November.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to continue the public hearing until
Thank you.
November 14th.
I'll make a motion. Public hearing continue.
Second, motion on the table, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Tell these people that.
I'm gonna ask Kirk.
Yep. And so
6:30 again?
Charlie, did you ask Kirk? For his vote?
Kirk,
All right, so I go ahead. Yep, what's that?
we're gonna be continuing the meeting until November 14th.
That's fine. Yeah, we're good. I'm good with that.
It's a vote. Okay. So yes, be 6:30. I don't know. Do we think it'll probably be 6:30 or it might be 6:30? Okay. 6:30 here again. So again, we won't be notifying you. So just kind of keep it together on the calendar. Exactly. And again, feel free to, keep your thoughts, ideas, put them together. Because the more input we have, we can continue with the peer review engineers and go from there.
Charlie, one thing if you would,
Hang on
one
one
thing if
second.
you would, just let the audience know that this is their formal notification of the meeting, continuation.
Yes. Just took care of that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
I'm sorry, can we please still have one
Yes.
person last time talk?
Yes, sir.
Just what,
Guys, hey,
the open public meeting on the previous time, it's continuation of this meeting.
correct.
So any other planning board meeting, we're discussing this at all.
We will not be discussing this. Correct. Exactly. Okay, so you're next. Moving right along. So no, because we continue. So we don't close it until we have everything.
This might
So
take
once we get
years.
all of the information done.
I got a lot of things.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm not gonna waste it tonight.
I know.
So we actually, we have more meetings going on, that was just one, so this is gonna be more meeting, so I just give it a few minutes and we're going 5 minutes. You're gonna be discussing.
The applicant filed a four-story bag permit, which trumps. the
I'm ready to go. That's the family.
So. that's cutting board. And so I reported it. Reported it in force. Went out.
Okay, guys, we do have more, another,
Yeah.
we have more of the meetings to keep going, so.
They have to do something with registration. That was not me. All I did was take a sidewalk. They opened it.
If that's going.
Well, that's right. Right. The state
It's a field to be encroached. Yeah.
Forestation.
was
that anything being. Residents.
We're still in the health.
All of
I think that's
And
good.
now it's like a way that we can go to
Yes, we are.
the.
Yes, we are.
Authorize that. Now.
I will call.
That's
How about that?
No.
You want this?
Mr. Chair,
You can.
can we have quiet for a second, please?
Yes, everybody, so we're gonna continue the meeting, so we're just gonna kind of get back to that.
I need to know if our guests want to stay for the rest of the meeting. Watch.
What are you talking about?
Zoning bylaws.
Oh, no.
You need to let her know if you're all set.
Marianne did, but I. Whenever.
All done with Baker. Lane.
Yeah.
We're on the same.
That will be the continuance of Baker.
Very good. Let's see.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Laura, are you gonna ask me if I wanna stay?
No.
You're just tarred and feathered.
Okay. What you learn more?
Right about this would be years down. You I may not even be here.
Oh, talk about email, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Up to you. If you want to stay, they can stay on.
What about you? Oh, okay, good. Okay, yeah.
Sounds good. Okay. Moving right along. Let's have some more fun. So, last time we were talking about looking at some zoning updates.
Yeah.
Any update for us, Lori?
Actually, yes. So my lovely cohort, Jessica,
You want me to do it for sewer and water?
go ahead.
So we reached out to the sewer superintendent and the water superintendent because last meeting, one of the residents asked what the capacity was in town. The sewer superintendent, Jeff Aldrich, says we currently have about 1,485 customers. This is approximately 50% of their capacity. And others. Reached out to the water superintendent, Scott Schwinger, who said that they are currently permitted to pump 1.5 million gallons of water daily. Currently, they pump around 400 to 500,000, so they can easily double capacity. They have 2,295 accounts and serve a population of an estimated 6,000 people.
So there's capacity.
So both of them could increase capacity by double.
Thank you. Any additional thoughts from the board on some of the zoning that we talked about?
Do you want a refresher on that too?
Sure.
So
I'm getting older. I don't remember as much.
in Jessica's summary from the minutes, she has bullets of half-acre building lots in the village districts that already have water and sewer available, allowing tiny houses with water and sewer, multiple dwelling units on one property, Route 202 from Royalston Road to Phillipston Town Line to be looked at on both sides and possibly rezoned as commercial. Drive-through food windows in the village districts, along with village district usage. Reconsidering the prohibition bylaw against trailers. And we talked about Airbnbs. I have not talked to Mr. Hanks, our building commissioner, yet about short-term rentals and permitting processes. Oh, you did.
I did. Yeah, he said, the short-term rental permitting process. Templeton would need to create their own bylaw, which would state what zones would allow it.
Anyone from the audience have any thoughts?
Yeah, I do.
You always do.
Right. Share with them.
Well, first of all, I want to know why the town is perpetuating this, doubling the capacity in population. So what is the purpose of that? And in thinking of the facts as well, I mean, I don't see an awful lot of refusals of building permits within the zoning that's available, or land that's available, which most of it's privately owned. So I'm confused that why the zoning would now occur to do tiny houses, for instance, or to take Route 2 and make it commercial. Down by where I am, I was just speaking to, right? And I can only say that, you know, each member that lives there, all right, would definitely want to know what the potential is that's going on with these properties, tiny houses or commercial zones. What would be the prospect of that? Because that brings in a lot more people in your residential situations, because we're not going to not exist. We're not going to change our to commercial, you know, we'll be still residential, you know, and one side of the street and the other side of the street where peninsulas are one. This is very complicated in the sense that when you look at the facts, why you're doing it, you know, what comes to my mind, and I want an explanation now on why you're doing it. Why do you need all this money, this potential money? You know, why? What's the point? You know, more people brings more children, possibly more, the whole 9 yards. I mean,
Can I just, because you hit a bunch of points. So let me just, I'm gonna address as many as I can in that. So for me personally, lifelong resident in this town, love this town. I would like to see some more commercial industrial land because it actually brings revenue in. And I agree with you, the more population that comes in, it actually affects the tax rate because At that point, when with children, we have to, fill the schools, build more schools, more teachers. So that affects us that way. That's one of the reasons I've always looked at trying to bring in some commercial commercial industrial land and bring in some businesses. So that's why I always look at doing that, because at the end of the day, it helps your tax base in the town and offsets so that residents aren't just paying for all the services and everything.
Well, if I may, rebuttal, because, I heard about, some rehabilitating plastic shop or something that might come into town. That they were gonna make a study and we'd be the first of all over and whatever. I can tell you, the cities, one just has to go through Boston or wherever and see the differential that's created by what you're proposing. We have a town here that's countrywide, okay, that we propose that our commons were, that way, and when you build complexes like I just saw, and you base them all through, it changes everything. It changes the whole construct of what Templeton is. And I just don't see the need. And when we have and I must say, we were, I watched the school situations, I gotta tell you that if they're doing this because of school monies and so forth, or they can't survive, they're not changing the system or the curriculum, which is what many states are doing. They're going remote and they're doing better than what they would be doing anywhere else. Babysitting and industrialization is over. Farming, and if you look at Gates and all the people that are doing what they're doing, they're buying land up because that's what's going to be needed.
So, okay, and then I'm just gonna I agree with you on a lot of that stuff. And here's the thing, at the end of the day, we as a board can only do so much. We're here to try to help facilitate a few things and help some people. I would love to see a ton of farms open up. Bring the farmers on, please.
Listen,
If I may, there was something that our chair mentioned that I was unaware of with respect to how much open land exists in Templeton. Okay, when he stated, based on the fact that we have all that open land, and that Massachusetts can basically come in and do whatever they want with that open land and take it from us, giving us no choice as to what will happen with that land. That is a problem to me.
it's a separate problem.
But it is a risk with respect to how we have our land designated right now. That's a risk. Do I trust Massachusetts to do with our land better than what we would decide within our town to do with our land? Absolutely not.
In perspective, though, if I may speak out of turn, in perspective, it's not your land, it's their land. And if they want to do what they want to do with their land, that's a whole different matter. And if you think you can control their
We can.
Well, you're trying to do it through zoning or some other aspect, okay? And my personal thought is that if this is what we're talking here is more of an expansion than what you're speaking to up there. I'm looking at, the town completely changing. I've already seen farmlands all turn into house lots. That we used to have farmlands and corn growing and whatever. I don't like that, in that happening, okay? There's a lot more people, a lot more opinions and whatever. We're a small town, we're not a city, we don't want to be a city, we never want to be a city, and I'm sure I'm speaking for thousands.
Hey, Charlie, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Anybody there? Okay, Steve, please give me the floor, Steve, okay? You're way off.
I didn't have the floor anyway, Kurt.
All right, listen, we're getting way off topic, and Steve, you don't run the meeting, okay? So just listen up. Charlie, first of all, Lori, correction, when you come to the articles, want to change 202 to commercial industrial, not commercial. Big difference when you advertise it, okay? commercial industrial, not just commercial.
Yes, commercial
And
industrial.
Steve, we're gonna have good, and we're gonna have plenty of time to argue. Everybody's entitled to their opinion on town floor. But right now, I suggest you just kind of move it along. Steve, all your points are, good points, what have you. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's yours. But I just encourage you to move the meeting along. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.
I want to speak to
Okay.
that.
I'll give you a
I
couple,
would like to speak. to
yeah, we'll give you a couple minutes and then we're gonna let everybody else have a
Okay,
chance.
well, first of all, this meeting is the second meeting and
I'm signing off.
here's the problem, okay? Waiting for town meeting is not the time to speak to this, and I still want, I want to ask the question, why are you doing it? Why is this happening? What is the push behind this? Who's pushing behind this? Which one of you were told as a board to the town came in and said, you did this? Who did that? I want to know who it is that's doing it.
I did.
Okay.
Because it had been more than 5 years since our zoning bylaws have been looked at. And there are things that need to change. There are state regulations that have changed with smaller homes because not everybody can afford a McMansion. And so we're looking at the entire zoning bylaws, not just one. We do not spot zone. We do not make changes for one person. It goes to town meeting. We propose them, you vote on them.
And I have to say this, okay? On the current laws in zoning. All right, the situation is that you go to this board, you go to the building inspector, he says no, you say no because the law says no. And then the appeals board steps in and they have their paper crowns and they say, this is what's gonna happen and we're gonna do it because it's not detrimental to the neighborhood, never asking anyone. And the fact of the matter is that if you want to appeal that under state law, I have to come up with $20,000 to appeal someone else's wrong when we already voted to have a zone in that situation. So what's been happening on my street is that it is exactly spot. People are going commercial zoning and there's no incentive because the taxes are the same. Commercial property gets the same tax as residential. So I don't understand what you're doing. I don't think anyone does.
Mr. Jury made it clear at the last meeting that he would like to see the zoning board of appeals abolished.
Yes,
We have that in our folder.
that's something that can be done. So, yes, Dennis.
I'd like to get a word in. I served on the committee that did land use zoning back in 07, 08 with Bob Whalen and Jerry White and people from MRPC. The reason we set up 5-acre zoning requirements in that particular area was to help maintain what actually is the only remaining natural area in our town. So the hope was to be able to at least preserve some open space. I know you're looking at getting a lot of money from any industry that might possibly come in under your proposal. But I can assure you that any industry that wants to come into town is going to request tax exemption for the first 5 or 8 or 10 years until they can get the business up and running. So you're not going to collect any money immediately.
Okay, but let me just say, I want to speak to that. But even if they did take a tax break, it's different than a house being built and having 2 or 3 children in there, which you automatically are losing money.
That's why we have 5-acre requirement for housing.
Just on the one
Just
little
to
section.
make sure that we don't, we have some space there.
Correct, but somebody could also, a developer could come in and purchase that entire parcel and put in
Well,
a 40B or some other type of development that would supersede the 5
that's
acres.
also,
So,
but part of that land is also under state control.
again, and so if anything, it's, well, state control, but there's also up in that area, there's quite a bit of state forest as well. that would never be developed. So even if it's in the zoning, it still will not be developed.
Well, the other thing you have to remember that we have also a large parcel of land on 202 and 2A next to Route 2, which we rushed to get rezoned for the purpose of commercial industrial, which never happened.
Right.
And
And
that
that's
still remains open and available for
I
anybody.
wonder how much Athol brings
Nobody has
in
a-
for tax revenue over there.
Nobody has ever expressed any interest in using that. land.
I would like to see that go in our coffers.
Hmm?
I would like to see the money that Athol gets for that mall.
Well,
And I-
maybe so, but don't forget they're paying just as much as what they're making. You're not gonna get ahead. The more money you make, the more money you're gonna spend, and
that's-
the
that's
more
a
money you're
different
gonna
part. I
need
think
to
it's
get
that part.
to maintain whatever you spend it on, so. You're never gonna get ahead that way. So I really can't support a change of the 5-acre requirement on that area myself.
We're not even there yet.
That's a whole different section.
Hmm?
That's a whole different area.
What are you talking about there?
I don't have the map in front of me.
Well,
But
the area that I looked at was all along 202.
Left hand side.
but even if that was changed, it would still, well, because it would be RE5.
R5, yeah, that's all R5.
Yeah, it's 5.
All have Norcross Hill.
Yeah.
So,
Again, and here's the thing, this is just discussions and proposals, and it's
I
whether
understand
it goes
that.
someplace, doesn't go someplace, that's all.
I just want to make sure that
I've just been,
people
sir.
have a chance to think of something else.
Mark Burial, Royalston Road. My question is about what is the proposal? I know Mr. Machete said that it's for industrial and commercial. I'd like to find out what the difference is, industrial and commercial. And then the other question is, does it start at Royalston Road and go to Phillipston, or does it start in Ballville and go to Phillipston?
And that's the thing, it's all a matter of discussion, this is all,
Well, the proposal, right?
I don't even know if there
Because
is there, do we have a proposal?
No proposal.
This is hash and trash.
What she read at the beginning, right, was different than what I heard on the meeting last time, a couple weeks ago. That I thought Mr. Machete said Baldwin built to Phillipston, both sides, industrial, commercial.
And again, I think that's one of those things, that, yeah,
Maybe
maybe
that's
you
what
want
it
to hear proposed, I think somebody else may, again, I don't have the map in front of me, it,
Today we were talking about Royalston Road. Now, the second property after Royalston Road, right? Heading west on 202, right? I know it's 202 south, but it's actually
Yes.
heading west. The second property on that is Norcross Hill Wildlife Management Area.
Mhm.
Is this board proposing that we rezone a wildlife management area
You
as
can't,
commercial industrial?
so no, see, is it doesn't, the zoning is, it wouldn't change what that land is, it's the zoning of it. So just because the zoning of that changes, doesn't mean that someone could come in and develop.
Why started at Royalston Road?
This is all, again, I don't have a map in front of me where this is just initial discussions of what we're looking to potentially do. Because again, here's the other thing, and the town can do what they want. Somebody could come in there and buy that land and put a bunch of houses,
they can't, Charlie.
It's
already-
Good now, 5 acres.
you know, could a
Well,
5
they
acre.
can't buy Norcross Hill Wildlife Management. Area.
And changing that zoning wouldn't change the fact that that's still going to be.
And the next property after that,
There's nothing that stops the state from selling that. I worked for the Commonwealth,
Well,
okay, and I watched what they did up there.
So if
Name, address.
Kenneth Case, 47 Everett Circle, Templeton, Mass.
Thank you.
Sorry, huh? Everybody else gets to say something, but not me. No, there's nothing ever guaranteed that something stays the same. I admit that right now it's a state, there's 2 state departments up there. Okay, I don't know if anybody knows it, but there's also a redemption center up there.
Here's the thing, I would love
Okay,
to,
so there is a business up there.
no, exactly. And here's the thing, I would love to see everything stay woods and trees and it would be wonderful. But I'm only 43 and I've been in this town all my life. The amount of changes I've seen, and I can only imagine the rest of you have been here a few years longer than I have.
I say we throw Charlie out afterwards.
It's just without some foresight and some planning, things just kind of happen as they happen. And that's one of the things that we get into these situations where things are a mismatch. So if you put some foresight into it and you plan, you say, look, this is what we'd like to see happen in the town long term. So if we kind of help facilitate that, you know, again, if we buy all the land up and put it in so it can never be developed, that sounds wonderful to me.
We have a plan now. Why do you want to change it?
Right.
Again, it's just a proposal. Again, if people are interested, all the thought. There
We maintain the status quo and not change it.
you go. Yes.
So you're talking about.
Name?
Well, Red Woman, daughter, Maria. So you're saying with the lot that we're talking about is the corner of 68 and 202, which is a sand pit now, okay? So it's, that's the whole thing with here, rezone that.
But we
you
can't
don't
rezone
spot
one.
zone. Right, you don't spot zone, rezone spot zone. So what you're saying is it would kind of have to be that whole side of that whole side of 202, that would have to be rezoned. Because it's already a sand pit across, input grades,
It would be everything that's R5 now.
all the way up to.
We can't spot zone, so
what you-
right off the bat, you take a spot, you're
Yeah.
spot zone. So the whole thing, R5 would have to go industrial or R2 or whatever.
Right.
Like, everything that's R5, John Crossville shouldn't be, but it's all R5.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
My name is Jun. I live in 1092 in 202 KPP. So I'm a retired vet Army. And I just moved here, so I'm very not familiar with the place.
Welcome to Templeton.
I'm medical by profession, so I don't know what you're talking about. Commercial and industrial. When they apply for, when you change the zoning for commercial, is it always commercial coupled with industrial, or you can change the zoning into commercial only or industrial only? And the second question is, I just want that to be defined so that for me, it's easier for me to actually tell how could it impact, right? There is residents around the area, but because I live there.
But in our bylaws, we have everything broken down. So in the zoning bylaws of the town, each zone has their restrictions of what is allowed within those zones.
He's asking if commercial is one zone, industrial is
That's
another.
commercial, industrial, and that's the, I don't have the zone, I don't have the,
I think, or are they always coupled with industrial?
no, because we have commercial and then we have commercial industrial.
We have
No,
A and B.
Because I
A
came
and
from
B,
the
okay,
CI,
A and
but
B.
I want commercial preferably, right? But I don't want industrial, yeah.
Yeah, so
To be built right
So
next
in
to
our,
me.
in our zoning, we do have, you know, the different, the definitions of what's allowed. Mr. Drury.
Again, Mr. Drury, 18 Drury Lane. Well, you know, this little house thing, okay, is problematic in the sense that let's just say it shrinks an acre of land to two little houses, right? That we have to put septic systems in, okay, which is not possible, okay, it can't be done. There's not enough property to be done. Now, and they haven't said that, okay? Here's the biggest problem. You put a small house, okay, next to houses that cost 400,000 or 300,000 or whatever, and they spit it in because it's 1 acre or something. That causes external obsolescence, because now you've got a property and it didn't value because of the housing is not symmetrical. So I must say, your answer to me that you're doing this and what you're gonna spend the money on is still pending the board. I wanna know what you want money for. That's so important that you like to see it in your coffers, you said. Why? What do you need the money for? Because I just want to say one other thing too. If you're gonna say the school, I want to rebut, because I have an answer to that.
Okay, I was gonna say for the general running of the town, again, that's not, I'm on this board, I don't do the other board, I just. For the entire time I've lived in this town, we've always been short on money. Money is always an issue, there's always, and I agree that we always spend, but again, that's not my department. I'm just saying for the long term, I plan on being in this town for a lot longer as well. I would like to see things run smoothly and successfully and be able to maintain the infrastructure. There's plenty of roads that need to be fixed and other infrastructure that needs to be dealt with. So. that's my-
Find me one town that's not crying for more money.
So Dan, hey, then you know what? Let's just close it all down.
All you have, you're gonna spend.
I agree, Dennis, but then what's your alternative?
Your business was a pre-existing business, was it not? Before zoning went in, I think. So I'm not sure what you have concerns about.
Well, they changed it from commercial to residential. 5 acre.
Yeah, but yours was pre-existing, so it would stay, would it not?
He's R5 now.
Huh?
He's R5,
Yeah, but
residential 5 acres.
but he's also a pre-existing business.
Yeah.
Change under the.
That's another issue.
Is that another issue?
How many acres do you own?
8.
Well, see, he'd be covered in, even in that circumstance.
Yeah, but residential, you don't.
Hmm?
He's running a business.
You know,
He's running a business. His land is residential.
yours what?
Residential, R5. You can't put a business on R5.
But he's
No,
already
it's-
existed there before the zoning went in.
Pre-existing non-conforming.
Hmm?
Pre-existing non-conforming.
Right, so.
His land be worth more.
Unless he wants to build houses on it.
I don't want to.
So I don't know how that adversely affects his.
Okay, I'm gonna, this case, and then we're going to,
Well,
wrap this up.
Charlie, I came here and supported tonight to add some commercial land because again, I represent the Continental Parental Friends Incorporated. Okay. And we'd like to see our store be able to function in a commercial zone. Right? And knowing that there's already a can redemption center up there with traffic going in and out and trailer trucks.
Mhm.
All right, I grant you that it's not a town road, it's a state road.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, if we had that area that was zoned, and there's a daycare center across the street. All right, and there's red down on the corner down there. There's already these businesses that have been there for years.
Right.
Why can't we just take places that Kenneth Case 47 Evans Circle, Templeton? Why can't we just take the places that, are already got businesses and try to put more businesses in them?
Spots only.
And return the taxes to the taxpayers who are, like my taxes on my house, so get them down a little bit. When you retire, you kind of like to live in your home instead of having to sell it.
That's the way I look at it, but again, so.
I'm in conjunction with Red. I would like to see something done where people can. I thought part of that area over there was supposed to be for adult entertainment anyway.
There is a section over there.
No,
Yeah, so.
that was long ago.
Yeah,
Where did it go?
It's
Still there.
still there
okay, but,
Section.
yeah, where in the swamp?
on the right-hand side, if you're heading down towards Baldwin. Yeah, maybe one more and then I'm gonna wrap it up.
I want to speak to the fact that it's just one more. If you're gonna.
I'm just gonna keep going. We're gonna have another meeting.
I come to talk and I always get limited because I speak a lot, that's why I'm mass vocal, okay? So the fact of the matter is, respectfully, Mr. Chair, is this. If you start to, like the business that he's speaking to is the redemption, is in bottles and cans. And retarded people, work for whatever it is up there and I don't know what kind of a business that really they profit by out of that, except collecting the nickels. I know
They
that.
actually do quite well.
Let me say this about that, okay? When you start trying to protect land, all right, where there's the wildlife and whatever, and on the other side, you start putting commercial situations, it scares the wildlife and they just go away. So you'll just, if you don't have a buffer zone, which has got to be really big, this has got to be engineered if you're going to try to do anything like this. This just can't be individual people saying, oh, well, I don't want this and you don't want that. I thought we had a great plan, just like he said. We spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of voting on that issue. And we haven't really even perfected it. It's a master plan. It's in a book. Yeah.
And
it's
that's
in-
what, and again, we address that, and that's what we're doing, is
Yeah.
every, we haven't
Now,
done this
I
in 5
still
years.
want to ask her before I go, why, respectfully, the town, who is pushing you to change the zoning?
Absolutely no one. I am the Director of Development Services. It is my responsibility to review and look at documents. It has been, I've worked here for 20 years, and in the 20 years I've been here, there have been no major zoning bylaw changes. And to stay current, whether it's increasing anything else, it is their job to look at the zoning bylaws and see if they still fit the bill.
Well,
And it is your
not to be
opinion that they
disrespectful,
do.
but I've been dealing with you for 7 years. And the town spent over $39,000
Nothing
on
to
property.
do with this meeting.
Yes, it does, because that's a zoning issue. And the fact is that we had no enforcement. And we had to go to the state, we had to go to the state court, Supreme Judicial Court, to get the town to act. And they only put lawyers in to defend themselves, not actually do anything. And what they did do, okay, she did, and I'll give her credit that, but she was
Zoning?
yeah, up in the property where we live, where the squatter, Brian Drury, sat there for years and years. And it's
What's that to
cleared
do
up
with
now,
zoning?
but yes, but you see, you have to understand, that property is now in question. Could be how could it's 1 acre of property, it could be reduced now to little houses. But here's the problem, there was the whole time that we went to the zoning issue, we were stonewall. I mean, we should be able to go and say, this is what it is. To this minute, we have electrical power on that property, okay? And it's dressed to a squatter.
The zoning, the zoning on
Well,
that.
no, it's vacant land. That's zoning, vacant land, nothing there. So we spent $39,000 taxpayers money, right? Defending it in court, all right? That's outrageous. When the law said nobody can be on the property, it's vacant land. It's that simple.
That's not,
So we can't trust, that's not it.
the zoning is what the whole area is.
Your property, I'll say one more thing, your property is encroached by the same individual. He's got buildings on your land. I'm gonna tell you straight up, okay? If you do not have enforcement, all right, that actually works, that doesn't take 7 years in a court case and $39,000, vote for me again. I'll change that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a great night.
I will.
Thank you. Do you want to say something? And then we're gonna wrap it up. I think we got almost.
No, I have something.
Well, okay, look, Frank's gonna, and then,
Yeah,
okay.
fine. Don't stop.
Steal over
The way
there.
I look at it, 15 to 20 years ago, we had no zoning.
Right.
And now we got zoning. Why? Because the people voted it in. We didn't vote it in. The people of the town voted it. That's why we have zoning.
Okay,
Okay, Lori. Hold it, I'll let Dennis have one.
No, if you have something to say, go.
Well, because it's gonna probably change the
moving
subject.
on.
So I was gonna say, if you want one last say on something, you
I
can.
know,
and then
I
we're
was
gonna-
going to make a motion that we consider adjournment.
Oh, no, she's got something
We
to
could
say.
stay all night.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So I received an email this afternoon from our town administrator with regard to the select board looking to adopt a zoning bylaw that would require special permitting with conditions for advanced recycling facilities, meaning plastics. So on your next agenda, I would like to put the draft that they sent me, and it does have to do with zoning, so it can become part of this whole conversation. But I really feel like you guys need time to look
I
at that
definitely wanna look
draft
at that before,
to
yes.
be able to talk about it. And For the gentleman in the front row, I've made a copy of our zoning bylaws for you, so before you leave, I'll give those to you, and it has all that information in it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Excellent. So,
And to clarify on Stephen's comment about tiny houses going everywhere, one more time, we're only looking for the spots that are already sewer and water, not septic, not wells.
yes.
For our audience, if anybody's watching.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Seeing none? Have an entertaining motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
I
We're
need
adjourned.
some signatures before
Yes.
you leave your seats.
Ladies and gentlemen.